You meet someone for the first time, a handshake, a smile, maybe just a glance, and within seconds, your brain has already decided who they are, trustworthy, arrogant, competent, or not worth your time. Now here's the unsettling part. That snap judgment can stick for years, sometimes forever, even when it's completely wrong. So why are first impressions so powerful and so hard to change? Because your brain isn't trying to be fair, it's trying to be fast. The moment you encounter a new person, your brain goes into rapid evaluation mode. This is called thin slicing, a concept popularized by psychologist Malcolm Gladwell. It means making quick inferences based on very limited information, facial expressions, tone of voice, body language, clothing, posture, all processed in milliseconds. And this isn't random. It's rooted in evolution. Thousands of years ago, humans didn't have time for deep analysis. You had seconds to decide. Friend or enemy, safe or dangerous, that split-second judgment could mean survival. So your brain developed a system, fast, automatic, and brutally efficient. The amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, activates almost instantly, even before your conscious mind catches up. It scans faces for emotional cues, trust signals, potential threats, and then it sends a signal. Proceed or stay cautious. But here's where things get interesting. Your brain doesn't just observe, it predicts. Based on past experiences, stored memories, learned patterns, and social conditioning, this is where schemas come in. Mental frameworks that help you categorize people quickly. If someone reminds you of a person you trust, you feel comfortable. If they resemble someone you dislike, you feel resistance, even if you can't explain why. And just like that, your first impression is formed. But here's the strange part. Once that impression is created, your brain starts protecting it relentlessly. This is called the primacy effect. The tendency to give more weight to the first piece of information you receive, that initial judgment becomes the anchor, and everything that follows gets filtered through it. If your first impression is positive, you overlook flaws. You give benefit of the doubt. If it's negative, you notice every mistake, every awkward moment, every inconsistency. And this is where confirmation bias quietly takes over. You start searching for evidence that proves your first impression was right and ignoring anything that contradicts it, not consciously, automatically. And this is where things become dangerous, because now you're not seeing the person, you're seeing your interpretation of them, a filtered version, distorted, incomplete, but your brain treats it as truth. And this effect goes deeper than you think. It even shapes professional outcomes. In job interviews, studies show that interviewers often make a decision within the first few minutes, sometimes within seconds, and the rest of the interview, it becomes a formality, a process of justification, not evaluation. But scientists later discovered something even more surprising. First impressions don't just affect how you see others, they affect how others become. This is known as the halo effect, a cognitive bias where one positive trait influences your overall perception. If someone appears confident, you assume they're intelligent, capable, charismatic, and you treat them accordingly. More attention, more opportunities, more trust, and over time, they start to live up to that expectation, not because they changed, but because your behavior toward them changed. The same works in reverse. A negative first impression can limit opportunities, reduce trust, create distance, and reinforce itself over time. And this is where things get even more complex, because first impressions aren't just about individuals. They're shaped by culture, social norms, and implicit bias. Your brain absorbs patterns from your environment, media, society, past experiences, and uses them to make rapid judgments, sometimes unfair ones, sometimes completely inaccurate, but they feel real because they happen so fast. And this speed is exactly what makes them hard to challenge. By the time you realize what's happening, the impression is already formed. But here's the critical question. Can first impressions be changed? Yes, but it's difficult. Because changing an impression requires cognitive effort. Your brain has to override its initial judgment, reevaluate new information, and update its internal model. And your brain resists that because it prefers consistency, predictability, cognitive ease. Admitting you were wrong, that creates discomfort. So instead, your brain doubles down, even when evidence says otherwise. Here's where things shift. Awareness creates a gap, a moment where you can pause and question your instinct instead of immediately trusting it. And this is where things get interesting, because small changes can disrupt the entire process. Taking more time before forming judgments, asking better questions, observing behavior over longer periods, all of these weaken the power of first impressions and strengthen accuracy. But in today's world, that's becoming harder because everything is faster. Social media profiles, profile pictures, short bios, first impressions are now formed in milliseconds. A single image, a single caption, and your brain fills in the rest, which means you're making more judgments than ever before, with less information than ever before. and trusting them just as much. But here's the deeper truth. First impressions feel accurate because they're emotionally charged, not because they're correct. And that emotional intensity gives them weight, stability, persistence. But emotion is not evidence. It's just a signal, and sometimes a misleading one. So the next time you meet someone or judge someone instantly, pause. Because what you're experiencing isn't clarity, it's speed. A shortcut your brain is taking to save effort, and maybe the real intelligence is not in making fast judgments, but in delaying them. Because behind every first impression, there's a deeper story, one your brain didn't wait to see. And maybe the people you misjudged are the ones you never truly understood. If this made you rethink how quickly you judge people, hit like, share it with someone who needs this perspective, and subscribe for more deep dives into human psychology.